My husband has battled leukemia twice, and he is, praise the Lord, in remission, doing well.
Thankfully.
Um, and then I struggled with menstrual issues during that time. That lasted about 6 months and could not find help anywhere in the conventional Western medicine world. And so I had to look outside of that, which led me to functional medicine. So I went back to get my functional medicine coaching certification. And then from there, went on to get a functional blood work specialist. And basically, what I do is I help specifically women. We take all of their labs, and it doesn't always have to be blood, but that okay, if you don't already know, leukemia is a blood cancer. And so I always tell people I learned a whole lot more about blood than any normal human being wants to learn, but I firmly believe that the Lord used that to just grow this love of all things labs, specifically blood work in me. And I didn't even know a functional blood work specialist was an option to go and get certified to be, but it is. And so I use your labs to look at what is going on inside of your body and then help you get healthy from there. So I don't treat or diagnose or anything like that. I just strictly use your labs to help you, specifically women, get healthy.
Okay, so what are the things that you're looking for in the labs? I'm like with leukemia, are they looking for certain like certain cells, or are they looking for certain proteins or deficient? Like, what is it that you're looking at in blood work?
Okay, that's a great question. Number one, I don't work with cancer patients right now. That is like further down the road, a dream of mine to work with cancer patients. But what I am looking for, yes, is specifically deficiencies and not just deficiencies, but I also want to see where your body, specifically your communication system. So a lot of people call this like the HPA or the HPT axis. I want to know on that axis what is and is not communicating properly inside of your body. And if we can figure that out, typically we can figure out how to support your body best in order to help it do what it's designed to do, which is to heal itself.
Okay, so I've got two questions on that. Number one, I
Okay.
don't do well with acronyms. So HPA,
Okay.
HPT means
Okay. Hypothalamus, which is brain,
okay,
uh, P, pituitary,
okay,
and T is thyroid.
okay,
Some people say adrenal instead of pituitary. I specifically, personally, this is just a personal, I like working more with pituitary because I think that it is very often misdiagnosed in the conventional medicine world as a thyroid issue. And a lot of times it's a pituitary. Like, for example, TSH is a normal blood marker for anybody that has thyroid issues. They know what TSH is, but oftentimes they don't know that that's actually a pituitary marker and not a thyroid marker. And so I like pituitary. Not that adrenals aren't important; they fit right in there within the axis. And then we don't use an acronym for the bottom part of that communication system, but the bottom part of that communication system is your gut and your liver. And that is another lab, which is called T3, that people often refer to as a thyroid lab, is actually converted in your gut and your liver. And then it goes out and communicates to every cell in your body. So,
okay. So educate me again, because my other question is when I think about communication, I think nervous system, and you say communication, and you're talking about thyroid, pituitary, and those type of things. Talk to me about the. It feels like we're talking about two different types of communication. Help me understand that, please.
okay, they work um, together.
Okay.
Definitely work together. I That's another thing in the functional medicine world. We look at your body as a whole, not as in like just your nervous system or just this communication axis. But they work together. And again, so T3 goes out and communicates to every cell in your body. And so if it's doing that, then it's obviously communicating with all systems, right? And so that's where it all, in my opinion, I always say in my opinion, and then I like caveat that with like a very educated opinion.
Sure.
Um, T3 is I think is like the mastermind cell in our bodies that goes out because it literally communicates with every cell and tells it what's going on. And if that is off, then of course you can have issues, right, with your nervous system and things like that because there's something off in the communicate that what I call the communication, which is your HPT axis to start with, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm not a medical person, and maybe the medical people that are listening are like, Rob, you're just not educated enough to understand this. But when you say it communicates, what is the message that it's communicating? Is it communicating how to process? Yeah, and I guess I'll just leave it open to you. What is it communicating to every cell? How does it communicate?
So it takes hormones and converts them and then sends them to the next chain, like the next area in that chain, like the next converter, if you will.
Okay.
So like your hypothalamus sends hormones to pituitary, pituitary sends hormones to thyroid, thyroid sends hormones to gut and liver.
Okay.
And then it just goes back up the food chain, right? From your gut and liver. If it's going out and communicating with every cell, it's going back up and talking to your hypothalamus again. And that's where oftentimes we find lots of chronic issues
Okay.
happen that way because over time, what happens, let's say your pituitary gives off an incorrect number of your TSH because you have stress or inflammation going on inside of your body. So the cell or the hormones would then go to your, uh, excuse me, would go from your pituitary to your thyroid. And then your thyroid would have an incorrect number because something is going on to mess with your pituitary gland, whether it's stress or inflammation, something of that nature. And then it goes from your thyroid, right? An incorrect number is now it's being TSH is being converted in your thyroid and going to T4, and then it's going to your gut and liver. But at that point, it's again an incorrect number of what it should be for a healthy body functioning properly.
Okay.
It goes to your gut and liver. Your T4 is then converted to free T3, and your T3 goes out to your entire body and communicates. And then once that goes back up to your hypothalamus again, it just gets off all the way down the food chain because it doesn't, our bodies are great at healing themselves, but when there are things like inflammation and stress that get in the way of that over time, chronically, that can start to mess up that communication system. And that's when bigger issues happen.